This really is a well-earned use of the word of unbelievable. Over the weekend, Glenn Greenwald's partner, David Miranda, who's a Brazilian national, not a journalist, might be helping on some projects with Glenn, but not even a working journalist. A family member of I don't know if him and Glenn are married, but Glenn's partner, and he was detained on his way back from Berlin, where he had been meeting with Laura Poitras, which is the Glenn Greenwald's collaborator on the Edward Snowden NSA disclosures. So he was flying back from Berlin, going through Heathrow on his way back to Rio de Janeiro, where he lives as a Brazilian national, and he was detained under that country's Anti-Terrorism Act for 9 hours. 3 of which were without lawyer or any type of representation. Glenn found out about this because an unidentified security official called him and informed him that his partner had been detained for 3 hours at the airport, that they were questioning him under this terrorism provision, and just to let him know. He wouldn't give Glenn Greenwald a name. His name. He just said he was a security official. Immediately, officials from the Brazilian embassy, as well as lawyers from The Guardian, rushed to the airport to try to get a hold of the situation. But David remained in custody, essentially, for 6 more hours because he was there for a total of 9. Now, there's a couple of important contextual things here before we get to the broader, just how sort of disturbing this is. The UK, in fact, does have much more draconian press freedom and terrorism laws in general than the United States. There isn't the same type of press freedom at all. There isn't the type of Fourth Amendment protections in the UK that there are in America. And this terrorism law was basically pushed through, and it allows people to be questioned, to be detained for a certain number of hours just in questioning related to terrorism cases. So it doesn't mean that they're being charged. It doesn't mean really anything specific. It just means a wider ability to detain and question people. Yeah.
And you don't have that right to remain silent, or
right.
You have to comply.
Yeah. No, it's as I say, yeah, it's a much more draconian process. And basically, this is under Schedule 7 of the UK's Terrorism Act, and they say, according to a document released by the UK government, quote, fewer than 3 people in every 10,000 are examined as they pass through UK borders. Moreover, most examinations, 97%, last under an hour, and this lasted for 9 hours. Now, obviously, what's really important and really striking here right off the bat, and I always read Bob Sheska at the Daily Banter, because he's kind of like the prime center leftish anti-Greenwald writer. And he made this whole thing where he said, yeah, I was really disturbed by this. And then I looked further into it, and it seems to me that David Miranda, Glenn Greenwald's partner, is helping Glenn Greenwald in various ways with the NSA story. That's why he was in Berlin meeting with Laura Poitras, and that's the reason why he was detained. And incidentally, his gadgets, computer files, and other things were taken from him.
Laptop everything.
Was
Who
taken.
knows if they even get that back?
They won't. They have not said whether or not they will give it back. They also took a Game Boy. He was playing an electronic game player that he was taking on the plane and kept that as well. Now, Sheska goes, so now with that context, I don't know what the big melodrama is about, because this Miranda might be helping Greenwald with the story. Now, that gets to the whole fundamental problem here, and what everybody who's been concerned about these issues has been profoundly concerned about from the begin with, which is the conflation of terrorism with practicing transparency and aggressive investigative journalism. And it's astonishing to me that even Bob Sheska, who has all sorts of problems with Glenn Greenwald's reporting and defends X, Y, and Z of specific programs, that's fine. Go forward and do it. But do you really feel comfortable with the fundamental premise that terrorism cases are now going to be treated, that all of these other things, espionage, going after whistleblowers, going after reporters that publish the work of whistleblowers. That's all going to be conflated into some large terrorism package where basically, essentially, everything that's adversarial gets swept under that rug. You know, people laughed when Joe Biden called Julian Assange a digital terrorist. But some people were astute enough to say that might actually be a description and an indication of policy. And this is clearly where we're going with this type of action, and in conjunction with everything else. So I think it's astonishing, again, that people cannot disaggregate whatever they want to think about, whether the leaks were justified or all of these other questions. You can have those questions. Fine, whatever. But if you want journalism, investigative journalism, to be investigated aggressively under a terrorism act, which is designed to address terrorism, I have no idea what part of credible conversation you still want to be involved in. Because the corollary of the tremendous threat to press freedom that this type of action is that it's an utter cheapening of the legitimate threat of terrorism. You know, there actually are some groups and some organizations, like Al-Qaeda, obviously, that really do want to create tremendous harm. They want to blow up public places. They want to behead people. They want to kill people. And guess what? That's an actual threat. And that actually does require some mechanism of response. So when you start passing these massive overreaches, criminalizing journalism, it's a massive threat to civil liberties, and it's a cheapening and a grotesque cheapening of the actual security challenges that terrorism does pose. And you also get a boy cried wolf situation where nobody's going to take any of this seriously at the end of the day to begin with because of the rampant abuse of it. So it's just stunning. And, you know, again, the UK has much more liberal laws when it comes to these types of things. I think they should become more like us. We should not be being more like them.
More like how we should.
More like how we should be in our roots, which we're rapidly getting away from.
Just wanted to make sure everyone was following along. I knew what you were saying, Michael.
Yeah, no. I know. Absolutely. Well, look, we have things like the Fourth Amendment where we're literally in response to our history of getting rid of British rule. I mean, this is where this civil liberties tradition comes from, and of course we're getting rid of it. There's no question. I'm not, I don't have any. I'm not naive about that, but I'm just saying I'll
be damned if I have to care about the royal baby. I'll be damned if that's where we're headed.
Absolutely.